All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at 6.4, solving compound inequalities. Okay. A compound inequality consists of two separate inequalities joined by an and or an or. Okay? So compound inequalities is like we took two inequalities and stuck them together. So nobody should be talking right now. You should be looking up here. We're going to talk about compound inequalities. Okay, for number one, we're going to write and graph compound inequalities. We're going to translate this verbal phrase into an inequality, then graph the inequality. All real numbers that are greater than -2 and less than 3. Okay, so we've got all real numbers that are greater than 2. So first I know I've got x is greater than -2, and it's less than 3.
You write this down.
You can also write this as x is greater than -2, x is less than 3.
We can do that.
Okay? Mark, I'm not going to answer a single question you ask until you raise your hand, which you have not done yet. Everything I write on the board, you always write down. That shouldn't have been a question, because you already know that. So we're going to graph this on our number line. We've got -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. We're going to put an open circle over -2. X is greater than it. We're going to put an open circle over 3, and 3 is less than it. So with all compound inequalities, you're going to have two circles on your graph. Okay? If they're an and, those lines are going to point towards each other. And if it's an or, they point away from each other. So let's do another example with an or. Okay, all real numbers that are less than 0. So we've got all real numbers that are less than 0 or greater than or equal to 2. So this is an or. So are the lines going to be pointed towards each other or away? Away from each other. Okay? So I'm going to graph my number line. I've got -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. We're going to put an open or closed circle over 0. Open. X is less than, so it points towards less than. A open or closed circle over 2. Closed circle over 2, and x is greater than or equal to. All right, unfortunately, my computer's being silly. This is going to disappear. But I can retell it to you if you need. But we're going to move on to example 2. Okay. A crane sits on top of a camera car and faces towards the front. The crane's maximum height and minimum height above the ground is shown. Write a graph of a compound inequality and describe the possible height. So on your picture, it says that the crane can go as low as how much?
4 feet.
So it has to be greater than or equal to 4 feet, right? And how high can it go? So it has to be less than or equal to 18. Okay? So we can put this together by saying, put x in the middle, 18 on one side, 4 on the other. It's eating the x, it's eating the 18. Okay. So let's graph it.
You gotta make another line.
Okay, so we have a closed circle over 4, and x is greater than or equal to it. And we have a closed circle over 18, and x is less than or equal to it. So is this an and or an or statement?
That's an and.
And, because it's pointed towards each other. Okay, let's turn it over and look at example 3. All right, there's another typo in here. This should say 2 is less than x plus 5, which is less than 9. Because it happens. Sorry. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate these two into two equations because it confuses me when it's just one. Okay, now it should be pretty simple. What do? I'm just subtracting 5, right? So I get negative 3 is less than x. Subtract 5, subtract 5. I get x is less than 4. So if I was to graph this, I've got negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put an open or closed circle over negative 3. Let's switch this so that this is the right direction. Which way is the alligator eating, the x or the negative 3? So it still has to eat the x. So I put an open or closed circle over negative 3? And x is greater, so which way do I go? To the right. Open or closed circle over 4? And it goes to the left. I won't let it go. All right, when you are done writing this down, please get out your journal.